purchasing process for Buncombe County. And I think my part in this is just going to be to do a quick overview to tell you just how we got to our recommendations, and basically let the rest of the group concentrate on what our recommendations will be. We basically followed the six step to process improvement that we initially started out in the course. And we started to analyze our project, and we started out and developed our project statement, which kind of took on a life of its own. We initially started out looking at reduction of paper, and then it evolved to reduction of time. And then we got back to our final project statement, which is here on the bottom. And it basically was to improve the procurement process by reducing the time and paperwork required to obtain supplies and materials. I think that's what everybody in the room is really after, is that how can we cut down this long, drawn-out process that tends to bog us down in day-to-day operation and government. So then we went on to characterize what the process was, and as you all recall, we went through it. I think we were even amazed at just how long that process takes when you put in a diagram, the steps, and if this is not done, it falls down, so we go back to the beginning, or if you don't have the money, it figures cost out. I think everybody was amazed at that. Then we analyzed the problem through the fishbone diagram. And there I think there was a couple of things that jumped out, as was that education was a real key in the process. That people had to be knowledgeable of exactly what they wanted, the type of item they wanted, and how to go about obtaining that item. And we felt like that education was going to be a real key in the whole operation to speed it up. The other was just the policy and procedures of how to go about in purchasing, and the involvement of minority contractors, and how to fit that into the whole process. And from there, we started analyzing. We looked at a number of things as far as just the number of purchase orders that came in, how long it took to obtain a purchase order, the types of purchase orders, the amounts of purchase orders, the dollar amounts of those that were coming in. And I think that we found some interesting things there that really jumped out at us. We also looked at both in the state what other counties were doing as far as their purchasing limits. We looked at the federal level to see exactly what purchasing limits were there, and could we move our $200 purchasing level up to something higher. And then from there, we talked with what we consider outside experts. We talked to some people in the finance department. We talked to Andy Bradley. We talked to Peggy Moss, who basically those two people deal with the day-to-day operations as far as encumbrances. We talked to Camille Hawks, who her agency, I guess like ESS, has a lot of contracts, and how we can speed up that process. We talked to David Lawrence down at the Institute of Government. David Young came in one morning and talked to us as far as a representative of the commissioners. And we talked to Bob Kirkman over at First Commercial, talking about how we can use spent cars, debit cars, procurement cars, whatever you want to call them, in the day-to-day process. So we felt like we really obtained some good information from those people. And I guess when you look at the overall input that we got from these people, that there was a gist of to start to standardize the specifications for certain items that we could do, effort to increase the purchases from minorities, to eliminate the purchase orders for certain categories such as advertising, maintenance agreements, and certain service agreements the county has. Want to investigate the possibility of using procurement cards and reduction in the time required to obtain goods and service, reduction in the number of approval levels, reduction in the amount of paperwork, improvement in encumbrances process where applicable, provision of training from appropriate agencies and department personnel. And then still we had to have the guidance of the NC statutes. We had to stay in those limits. So I think those were all important items that we kind of put into our recommendations. We'll turn it over to Wayne and Waynesville.
One of the things that our committee discussed, as we pointed out to you, is during the process of purchasing, you have on one side you have the department desire to get things quicker. On the other side, you have the process of control. So somewhere there's going to be a balance between the two. So if we shift away from control, then we put the responsibility back in your lap as department administrator. And that's some of the things that we talked about, and we think that probably we would worthwhile. So as far as our recommendations and our improvement period, it's basically about the same thing. So we have discussed these to some degree, move over here. First one that everybody's, I'm sure, interested in that is raise the threshold requirement for purchase orders to $500, which we all know was presently $200, and that was raised a year ago from $50. So by doing so, that gives the departments a lot more freedom to go out and make purchases. It also gives you the responsibility to make wise purchases. The comment came out in our committee was, well, that will work fine until somebody goes out and buys a $250 toilet, and then the pendulum is going to swing back because those things get out, and that's not going to be acceptable. All right. The next one was we looked at the process of the bidding procedure. State law doesn't require a threshold for informal bids until you reach the $5,000 level. So we decided to, or making a recommendation to raise the threshold of formal bids to $5,000 and allow the purchasing agent to determine when informal bids should be obtained for lower cost items, provide additional support for minority business participation. So this will be a recommendation. If it occurs, and I assume very likely will, then we will concentrate more on the informal bid process for the big items. The little things we're going to let you worry about. And we're going to revise the purchasing manual once this is approved to reflect all these policy changes that will give you the freedom to do what you need to do. All right. We're going to eliminate, we talked about services, and that has been discussed here also. And we found that about 30 to 40% of our purchase orders were issued for service-oriented things, and one area in particular is with child development and DSS for child care reimbursements. We found that the statutes do not require a purchase order to be generated to obtain an encumbrance. So we discussed and came to the conclusion, well, we can eliminate those kind of things, which basically eliminates a lot of paperwork, eliminates work on your part, it eliminates work on our part, and it also speeds up the process so that we can concentrate on other things. Then we looked at the education process. And what we decided to do here, as well as raising the threshold for purchase order, the education goes along with it. So we felt that the best way to do that was to have the department select 1 or 2 or 3 employees to do the purchasing for those departments, and then provide those employees with some training as far as how the procedures are supposed to work, what their responsibilities are. It's a accomplish this. And we also talked about the possibility or the need for training as far as specification writing. One of the things that I have a problem with in my department, and what you all think adds to the burden of what and the task of preparation of the specifications is that if you as a department head want an item and your description to me, and let's say the item costs $15,000, and you give me a manufacturer model number and forget about the bid process, and I come back to you and say, well, what is this? You know, and then we have to start all that process all over again. And then somebody has to go about writing all this down. So we're going to put that burden on, to some degree, onto you and teach you how to write those specifications, so you know how to write them, to what I expect. So the process, you know, once it gets to me, doesn't end up going back and forth for a period of time before a bid request is even issued. Finally, we looked at what can we do in the future. And we discussed the possibility of the use of procurement cards. And we talked to the banks and looked at the process of how that could be incorporated in the county. And we decided that we need to do this, but we need to have a pilot project and try it out with possibly one large department and one small department to see if this is something that will be usable. So our recommendation is for FY96 to experiment with that, see how successful it is, and see if we want to implement that further down the road. Procurement card can take the form of something like just a typical credit card, possibly a debit card, and so on. So that would, in theory, replace when you make a purchase, all the charges would come into that against this card, similar to what you do with it. You have to charge something at home, and eliminate a lot of the invoices coming in, the invoice processing, a lot of checks to be issued, and so on. So it has its advantages, but we think we do need to experiment with that. Finally, we talk about process control. And we feel that we should be as far as having our team continue. We decided that may not be necessary, but it would be useful for say Wayne's World, my department, finance, and so on, to periodically take a look at where we are, where we're going, how successful we might be with those things as procurement card procedure. You know, what impact is this $500 limit threshold for purchase order expense? So we feel we should be doing that, taking a look at that maybe in a year, and certainly take a look at what other counties are doing. We did that study here and got some information, but we want to be somewhat in line with what other counties in North Carolina and elsewhere in the United States do. We want to continue on a regular basis the training of employees in regard to purchasing procedures and also writing specifications, especially when new people come to work for the county. We want to look at the process in our success in stimulating minority business opportunities between the county and those organizations, and to cultivate that throughout the county. And finally, we want to overall look and see how successful our project has been in doing the work. Are department people satisfied with how it works? Our upper management satisfied with that? We need to take a look at that on a regular basis to see where we are and see what we need to do in the future on a regular basis to change procedures to meet the needs of the county government. Does anyone have any questions? Bill?
When you train us to write specifications, are you then going to accept what we give you?
I think we will be, it's always going to be a joint effort, I feel, between my department and whoever writes them. I think it can't, I say I will have to probably do a little bit more of returning things, and, you know, tell you what, first I want to tell you what is expected, and then the second thing, when someone goes in, I will expect that to be there. If it's not, it's probably going to be somewhat returned, but I will also be willing to help with that process.
Are you going to, is your department going to provide the training, or are you going to get someone else to do that?
That we haven't really gone into yet. Depends on how, basic training or procedures, there's no problem with us doing it. If you want to get an outside expert, that's what we consider. And if you want to use my expertise, that's okay, that's all right too.
Like $500.
Well, I would envision that probably be, come to the board probably shortly after January 1st, so we can implement the policy changes and so on.
Did you estimate any cost saving during that sort of thing, this process, or paperwork or time or manpower?
Time, and we'll say manpower, it will to some degree do that too, but in our office, the time is not, we'll cut down, we raise the threshold for purchase over $500. And I'm sure we'll cut out purchase order, but that's not the area where I feel our staff spend most of its time. And the time that will help us tremendously is especially after the education process goes on. And if you can get me a better specifications where somebody's writing specifications for the idea, yes, these are, what I write is going out to a vendor in its present form, rather than what tends to happen now is people write specifications for me, and then I have to take that and interpret it, or change it around, add to it, so that, and put it in a whole different form, and then it goes out to the vendor, and that takes time. And you don't think, well, everybody tends to think, well, first you just sit around waiting until my requisition comes, and all I have to do is sit down and just immediately send that thing out in the mail. Well, what happens when you think, well, I get 20 or 50 of these things a day, and if I have even one formal bid can take anywhere from 2 hours to 2 weeks to do. And so I'm hoping by you providing me better information to begin with, that will help me. And I would say it will reduce the staffing, but it will probably reduce the amount of turnaround time that it takes to go through this process.
So it's more effective is what you're
That's correct.
Sure. You can concentrate your effort then on the bid process rather than the low $500 purchase.
Yeah.
Wayne, I'm very guilty of not writing specifications very well for what you need, but what you're saying is that hopefully you'll be training us on what specifications that you need. If I need a tractor, I just know that I need a tractor. I don't,
Yes.
you understand what I'm saying? I don't, then you want to know horsepower and all that other stuff. But you always
One of the things we want to do, and some of you have used this in our office, we have extensive records over what the county has purchased over the years. We want those to be made available to you. We want you to call us and ask if you want a tractor. And you say, well, maybe 5 years ago I bought a tractor. You may not have the records of what the description of that tractor was then, but we do. And we can, and we through our, once we all get on the network, it'll be very easy to transfer that. But even now, it's not that difficult. Every department, for the most part, has got a PC. And if you call me up and you say, I want to see an old copy of specification for a tractor, we can put that on a diskette and send it to you, and then you have a basis to start with. That will help you as a guide, and also speed up the process and once it gets back to me, because we can just take that, why should somebody in your office take the time to put it in the PC and then send it to me on a sheet of paper, and somebody in my office has to turn around and enter that whole piece of information again in another PC. So all these little things will help and speed up this process and hopefully make it better. Bill?
Did your group discuss something like a performance measure for your department, that the turnaround time would be cut?
We have
Would it be 48 hours or something like that? Okay,
That's
yeah.
up, we'll take a look at it now, yeah.
I think there was one item that we discussed that is going to basically take county manager's directions, that such items to basically standardize specifications for certain items. The county uses a lot of desks, a lot of tables. We buy copy machines, we buy fax machines. those type of items, basically say that we'll do those twice a year. And the county will buy X package, X type of bookcase, maybe 3 different types of chairs, 3 different kinds of desks, given individual. But I think that what we talked about is basically the county manager will have to say, look, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to buy. We feel like that one, will make it a lot easier on everybody, and 2, we feel like the county can save money in the fact that you don't have people going out here and buying all types of desks and all types of chairs. And I think there was a big thing that Wayne discussed was that in certain types of desks, bookcases, people try to be real frugal and go out and purchase the cheapest thing they've got, but then in 2 or 3 years, the thing is piled low. And they essentially force the money. Put in a few more dollars in the purchase of that item, they would be around for a lot longer. So that was another item. Basically, something that's not a board direction, but an in-house direction. I like to save a lot of time and money in the long run.
One of the things that people say about Wayne's World is, well, he's always out there trying to save everybody as much money as possible, and heck with the quality and so on. My comment to you on that is that the quality of a product that we buy is determined by you, not by me. My department is a vehicle by which we obtain that item. So that's one point I want you to think about.
No way.
Yes.
Wayne, will you be doing anything different in your department as a result of this experience?
Let's purchase part of this capital prepare.
I mean, did this experience, would you have thought of it, all the recommendations prior to this experience? Would you have taken the time to?
It depends on what direction the county wants us to go. I feel as far as our department goes, we tend to react to what is needed, especially from upper management, as to where we go with our, and really our procedures haven't changed very much in a long, long time. So I said this was a good reason to take a look at those procedures to see, well, what can we do to make them more responsive to the needs of the county. And I think we have successfully done that.
I think there's one more item that we covered real quick that we just touched on was minority participation. I think that when you raise that threshold of $500, it makes it a lot easier for everybody to just go out and purchase and not keep those things in consideration. I think that we talked with David Young and among ourselves that wanted to, maybe when we make those bulk item purchases for supplies and stuff like that, the county would consider possibly taking the 2 or 3% range higher in order to try to get that minority participation involved. Otherwise, we feel like that the goals that we've set probably not going to be able to be achieved if one, the threshold is high and we don't give some kind of special consideration for minority participation.
That's one thing we're going to give to you. We have prepared a new county supply catalog. We're going to pass that out this time for you to use. The goal of this is when you need, especially in the area of office supplies, when you need those supplies, we would request that you look in there and find those items first before you decide you need to go look at Office Depot catalog or whatever it may be. If we have something on hand, we are still the fastest place to go to get that item, and hopefully with the least amount of paperwork involved to do that. And then paperwork involved, they're going to think you don't have to write checks for a purchase order or something that's just for a 50-cent item because we have it. We take care of that for you. So we'll pass the word.
One quick thing, Wayne, does each department head have a listing of all minority businesses that we have?
Not yet.
When we go to that, it might be a good idea to make sure they have that.
You do it in the work.
Yeah, we need that. We need to call you that, but yeah.
You gonna pass it? You're still gonna hand out the book. Just one more minute.
We do have more of these manuals. I'd like, if you'd like.
Did an excellent job. I'm holding it up, that's really spectacular.
I was there in case you got a
Okay, everybody's ready for service master's report. All business, no trails, no extra. You know, we just worked hard. We just try to cover it up. Like John. Anyway, the service masters consisted of myself, Elizabeth Taylor, Bob Hunter, and Ed Wise, and Anita Metcalf. And our final project statement, once we hashed and rehashed, came out to be improve customer satisfaction by responding appropriately to customers' calls for service and measured by data collected on customer requests and employee responses. And we had tried to tie that in initially with the county mission statement. Everyone in here should have memorized. Nice manager. Anyway, you can see the mission statement nurtures a sense of community by providing services and activities in a cost-effective and efficient manner reflecting proper stewardship of the public trust. When we started out with our project, we talked about how can we measure customer service. And we talked about survey almost from the first team meeting that we had. From those meetings, we looked at our project statements. We gave ourselves a name as Service Masters. We talked about improving customer service by increasing knowledge and awareness of county government services, both internally and externally. From there, we went to our second draft and then the third draft, and came on out even the number 4 to improve customer satisfaction by responding appropriately to customers' calls for service, as measured by data collected on customer requests and employee responses. We looked around to find out who does surveys, how does different departments measure their customer service. At customer needs and expectations. Once we had completed all of this, we put all this stuff together in what we call our Buncombe County Emergency Operations Plan. This is how each one of you are going to measure your customer service. With this, I'm going to turn it over to Bob. We're going to talk about the actual measurements that we did.
We were going to do some charts, and we need some real quick data. I'm not there much later. So the department that had the most customers was the tax department. And so we did some tests for the motor vehicle division and the tax collector. And at the top you see that these are telephone calls received, 82 calls, 20 were non-department related, had 20 calls that were transferred, and then during the day they had 91 walk-ins. And everyone that walked in seemed to know what they wanted because they were all related to the department that they had. There was no one that was referred to another department, so it seemed like everyone that walked in knew where they were going, what their purpose was. And phone calls, they had some discrepancies there. In the tax collector division, or the part of that department, had 184 phone calls, 25 of those were non-department related, 25 were transferred from city to 25. Had 220 walk-ins, and there again, all the walk-ins knew what they wanted and where to go and what department they were actually looking for. From all this information, we did a pie chart, and had a total of 624 people. 72.2% was male. This was either contact with the person or contact through the mail. So 72% of the people were at letter contact, and there was 13% were telephone calls, 14% were 14.5 walk-ins. And for this we made a chart. There's a total of let's see across the bottom. Now the walk-ins, there was 91, so there was no referrals. Like I said, those people knew what they wanted. Telephone calls, there was 20 of those transferred. Total was 451 by mail. There was 25 of those that had incorrect address. Now we make some permits and inspections. We're done that. We're also doing a study to get some more information, but we don't have as many people, so it's going to take longer. And we'd like to have other departments also do some random check and see how they're doing with their customers and all that. Anyway, here's how this one is. 220 walk-ins. There again, with the same pie chart you saw. These referrals, telephone calls, 184, and out of those, there were 25 of those that were transferred. Like I said, in permit inspection, we're doing one. We're asking the customer if they understand that their permit is, the reason they're buying the permit is because all the inspections are required by state law, and the ones that I've looked at so far have all answered universally. We ask them if they understand that their monies go towards the inspector's time and all this, and they all answered universally to that. And we've asked also if they feel that the money they're spending for their permits and inspections will not ensure, but assure that they get a quality home and all the regulations will be met. And everyone has so far has answered in front of that. So and we give it to the person that we ask that they not sign it. We have a box with a slot so that they'll not give it back to the person that gave it to them. Think they'll be reading it. We want to make sure that they know that they will remain anonymous and not know who filled it out, so that we would get good information. And I thought we'd get a lot of negatives. So far, we haven't got any negatives. I don't understand that. But anyway, we don't have enough information to put it on. So, with that, I'll turn it over to you next.
Customer service got to know each other quite well, and during the process we realized that it was very difficult I think one of the things that we we were having difficulty in finding data. And we finally resolved that there was really no data. And I think that in itself was very important for us to understand, and you will see how that's reflected in our recommendations in just a minute. We had no data, but as we were talking, and Jerry and Elizabeth and Bob and Annette and I, we determined that on our team, we had a total of 75 years of experience in customer service in Oakland County. 3 of us had over 20 years of service with the county. So now another thing that says is that we're pretty old. I know, you can be old. But through those years of experience, we may not have the data, but we have certainly the experience, and we know what the people are saying, and we know what both internal and external people are saying. Often they say it to us wherever we go, right, Elizabeth? So we feel like that 75 years of experience has some worth as far as determining our customer service needs. Now, we also tried to determine what are those core values that should be addressed in customer service. We often associate the ultimate in customer service with, like, the Disney Corporation, which you'll see the Disney characters as they are on our flow chart. You think of them as being just wonderful. Those of you who've been to Disney World, you see it's quite clean, you see that everyone's friendly, and everyone's at your service. Well, not to be outdone, Disney World isn't the only one that has characters that characterize customer service. Right here. Our customer service. We have and we all know. I'd like to introduce to you Otterby. Now, our customer service slogan, we thought might be very appropriate is that our customer service in Buncombe County ought to be like Otterby. Do you get it? Now, what does that really mean as far as service is concerned? All right? It means reliability, responsiveness, assurance, empathy, and tangible. Let me go on further to explain that. Exactly what do we mean by reliability? What is it? It's the ability to provide what was promised dependably and accurately. How? By fulfilling a customer's order on time. I guess, Wayne, that would make reference to Wayne's World as your internal customer. You're showing reliability. Unlike the cartoon at the bottom that says, yes, I promised you your money back, but my fingers were crossed. Now, Otterby certainly would not in any way do that to their customers. Right, Otterby? No. Now, what else? What is another core value of customer service? Responsiveness. That's the willingness to help customers promptly. How? By noticing a customer. Like if Stan were puzzling over a situation, what you would offer as a customer or a service person, you would offer them help and information, and by doing that, you're showing the responsiveness. Unlike the person in the cartoon who says, please take a seat in the waiting for eternity room. In many of our offices, people may feel like that sometimes. Another core value of customer service should be assurance. The knowledge and courtesy you show to customers and your ability to convey trust, confidence, and confidence. Now, if Otterby has anything, that's confidence. By smiling and telling your customer, I can help you with that, and actually doing it. Not just telling them that they can do it, but that you actually do it. For example, Bob is service with a smile, not service is a smile. I mean, if you say you're going to do something and then don't do it, then of course, that's not a good thing. One more core value is empathy. The degree of caring and individual attention you show your customers. And by being sensitive to an individual customer's needs when solving a problem, you're showing empathy. For example, this person is saying, go ahead, I'm listening, and certainly they're not listening. That isn't a way to show our empathy to our customers. And what about those tangibles? Our physical facilities and equipment, and certainly our own personal appearance. You might need Kim's makeup here. How, by taking the time to make ourselves and our work area presentable, you're paying attention to those tangibles. Even to the extreme, Henderson just completed a three-week service seminar, and already he's in a restaurant and they're putting a pillow behind his head. So those are some core values that we would like to see in terms of being able to provide services to our customers. We went through the flow chart when we began our process, and we talked about the survey, as Jerry and Bob both mentioned, but we didn't have any information, and we gathered some information just to see how that process would work. But then we think that it's going to be very important that we analyze those results, and for situations like in Bob, where all of his customers are satisfied, then provide your employees recognition and your customer service has been achieved. But in those areas where it is not, where we have dissatisfied customers, then education of both the public and the employee, and that's where we have to work together. For example, with public information, to provide that information to the public. Wait. Oh no, I'm not. But I'm not through. I don't have my recommendations. As far as our recommendations, we put these in strong, maybe assertive words. For example, expect the departments to identify their customers, both internally and externally. Expect that of us. Expect our departments to determine customer needs by using surveys and appropriate methods. Expect our departments to document the results of these surveys and appropriate responses. Change the department and organizational policies and procedures if necessary to focus on the customer. So if we have organizational processes and procedures that are not customer-oriented, then we need to look at changing those. Communicate commitment of top management to customer service by expecting each department to have a specific budget summary outcome that addresses customer service goals and performance measures. Benchmark departments' customer service with that of other organizations and businesses. Determine the key elements to customer service. Certainly a very important one is train employees in customer service skills, including in departmental orientations and also new employee orientations. Train our frontline folks in handling the telephone and reception skills. Train our employees in basic functions of our different departments, and provide information to our employees regarding the functions and changes in those departments. And finally, educate the citizens in the fundamentals of county government, what it is and what it isn't. And one final word. One way that we and also Wayne's World did is they went to school on the winners. They identified what your customer service problem is, and that whole idea of reinventing the wheel. Maybe we don't have to do that by going to someone else who has actually learned through the process, and maybe we can get some ideas from them. develop specific objectives for our visits, make that visit and plan and report and convert that learning into action. You could flip that around. And we did some of that by calling the different governments, and Jerry talked to Federal Express, which is mentioned in a lot of the information about quality service, if they provide quality customer service. So go to school with those winners. Don't let that wonderful information be lost. Even when you go to Wendy's, it says quality is still our recipe. So the whole idea of quality is becoming a part of everyone's business. A final word, there are only two things of importance. One is the customer, and the other is the product. And if you take care of the customers, they come back. And if you take care of your product, it doesn't come back. It's just that simple, and we found with customer service that it's just that difficult. Yes.
Did you check with Debbie as to which restaurants were winners and which were
Well, now, Debbie, now, we know not to visit McDonald's, but they've improved now, right, since your experience here? Ken?
The jury's one of my school overhead. I have a question. I noticed you said that your collective experience was 75 years. That seems like an appropriate measure. But you also say that your collective height was 28 feet 6 inches.
Yeah, I don't know. Come up with that. Any comments? Bill? Surely, Bill, you're being very quiet back there.
No, one thing I see from yours is there's a lot to be done. I mean, you've opened up the can of worms here, and as a result, I think as a result, there's a lot of things we need to follow through on what you're doing, as opposed to have you done this, because you have really got it off the floor and put it out where we can see it, and it's just a matter of taking the run with it.
Do you think that it's appropriate to use, customer service is such an issue in everything, the customer first, everything is customer. Do you think it's appropriate to have that as a performance measure?
Oh, yes, I think it's something we should definitely think of, as to whether or not it would be in the budget, but it's something we haven't discussed, it's something we probably need to.
Because one thing, just like with quality, there has to be something to sustain it. We live here today, and unless there's something to sustain it, somehow it just goes away. We feel that it's very important.
I think it is. Another thing I'd like to say, it's very evident that your animal graduated from Clemson.
And I'd like to thank them for not coming with steak. I was worried there for a minute when you were up there.
And some of you may not know the sacrifice of where this operating.
Yeah.
It's extremely hot inside that costume.
One of the things that customer service can do, I know as a result of the election, there's been some, shall we say, knee-jerk reaction. And customer service is one of those things that you might say you can paint what shows. While a lot of your processes are getting underway, you can paint what shows. It's immediately evident and tangible. So.
And then just announced she's available for parties. Pedro, it appears as if there's a short informal break going on. You might wait just 1 minute. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay.
This is even better than you ordered.
You're missing it.
Oh, my God. Where have I been?
We get Santa, I didn't get I have to make you walk all the way back here.
I would like to know what's going on in child development.
Good morning, Asheville.
Hey, Rush.
From the Armed Forces Network, we bring you this morning live from the Oaks, the Wanda King Live Show. We're brought to you this morning, of course, by the Orville Parker Incorporated Group, where we always say, we don't give a burger about one own hunger. I do want to mention that we are blessed this morning with lovely Vanna, and she'll be helping us greatly this morning. On radio, of course, you can't see her, so don't worry about it. I'd like to point out this morning that Wanda's guests this morning, and they are truly wonderful guests. First, we have the lovely and intellectual Hillary Parnham. The wife in real power in front of, well, you know. And of course, the always gracious and informed Rush Ball. He of winning friends and influencing politicians' fame. So, without further ado, turn off your minds, relax, try to stay awake. Oh, and please hold your calls until the end. This is a serious discussion, and our guests do not need to be interrupted in the middle of their thought processes. So, here's Wanda.
Thanks for joining us this morning. We're going to be discussing various issues that relate to improving pay for government employees. It is indeed my privilege today to have as our guest Hillary Parham, our distinguished First Lady, and Rush Moll, a unique commodity in the broadcasting industry. Let's get started with a question. Over the years, government employees have received longevity pay, payment for just showing up. You know, what would you say are the pros and cons of longevity versus performance pay? And let's start this morning with Hillary.
Thank you, Wanda. I think you should give employees turkeys for the holidays, longevity pay, just sort of helping it out, and of course, a Christmas bonus too.
Well, how would you respond to that, Rush?
Why do we need to reward people for taking 8-hour coffee breaks? Our government workers just sit around waiting for the next holiday, committee meeting, or training exercise.
Well, with that, maybe we better take a brief station break. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
This presentation is brought to you this morning through the cooperation of the Jones Software and Consulting Company, where we say, budgeting without thinking. Jerome and his staff will produce software for each of you that will produce outcomes, whatever those are. Easily attain goals, and of course, will reduce costs and produce revenue. Some of you don't have revenue producing, that's okay, this software will do it anyway. The best part is, of course, is you don't have to pay for it. You get the software, and your budget will automatically drop by $49.95. Call now, operators are standing by. Remember, 704-255-5550, and be the first in your government to forget about the pain of budget. And now back to one.
Okay, we're back discussing issues with Hillary and Rush. Another issue that's often addressed is whether or not when you have an increase, it should be a lump sum payment, give it to them one time and that's it, or whether we should have permanent salary increases. Let's start with Rush this time. What do you think?
Well, I think what we ought to do is just give them a lump on the head. They don't perform. But I guess you bleeding heart liberals want to give them permanent increases along with permanent jobs. Well, I say give them one-time payment, let them earn it again next year.
Lord, how would you respond to that?
It's a known fact that 64% of the population earns less than $22. For a family of four, that's below poverty level. And for those that provide such essential services, they need to be compensated fully.
Really, too. Drastically different views. In light of this conflict, we're going to take another real brief break for a message from our sponsors. Stay with us. We'll continue with this topic.
One sponsor we did not have was your hairdresser. Ever wish you could conduct really good meetings? Maybe arrange little things in the bottom of a big old bucket? Or use Post-it notes and just give them to people and great ideas would come forth? Well, if you have, you could come to the Anita Institute where for a small fee, don't worry about it because Jones Software will take care of that. You can bring people together that don't know what they're doing. And they can, in just a few short sessions, solve all problems of third graders. Anita Institute has the answers to your training problems. So, you need to sign up. One of the things you'll get from the Anita Institute, of course, is the ability to make colorful cardboard things. And for a very small fee, each of your employees who come to the Institute will receive one of these wonderful notebooks. This notebook may not look like much, but it is color-coded. And you cannot live without one of these in your organization. So call now, same number, Jerome can sign you up for that also. And now back to Lonnie.
Okay, thank you for staying with us. Let's move to a slightly different perspective now. Most governments restrict hiring a new employee to a beginning entry-level salary. You start at that, you've got to start at the bottom all the time. Let's ask our guests how they would feel about giving the supervisors the flexibility to start a new employee just anywhere in the range that they want to start. We'll talk to Hillary first.
Well, I believe it is essential to have the flexibility to hire anywhere within the range in order to hire the employees that are needed. Eliminate probation, send them to training. Employees are index.
Rush, how do you respond to that?
Well, Hillary, I'm sure you'll want to hire in all of your friends at the top of the scale. You'll probably feel the government full of retired military practitioners. And then feel that empire that Caesar was trying to put them all on permanent probation.
Again, two very different points of view. Let's hear another word from our sponsor.
Hey there! Tuesdays at 4 o'clock for the Battle of the Verbal Titans. In the center table will be Bill McElridge with his 500 horsepower mouth spouting on that and Lauren Koss. And from the front row, the Queens, that dynamic supercharged duo who will oppose apple pie, motherhood, and anything Big Bill has to say. Heart-throbbing face, forced smiles, action, action, action. Be there, Tuesdays, 4 o'clock, County Courthouse. And out.
On November the 8th, everyone across this country made it very clear that they think government is out of control. If we start increasing government employees' salaries, how do you suppose we're going to deal with the budget constraints? Gentlemen, you first.
Bake sales, of course.
We all know. Well, maybe we could just hire Hillary to do some creative investment work for the country. She is,
That's about all the time we have tonight. But if you'll join us tomorrow, we'll have Dan Markowski as he talks about the real purchasing process, and Jesse Helms will be here to address effective public relations.
This presentation was produced, by the way, that's not right. It's quite colorful, though. I personally can't wait to see it.
So much for the slide.
Well, I'll tell you, when you're nervous and they have to go to the bathroom both. I got another little part to say, but I'll forget that. We've had such a good time here. We would point out very quickly that, like Service Masters, we were a group that right to the topic. We were serious about it at every meeting. This is the first time we've laughed the whole time. We were pay dirt. We did look at the problem of pay issues in the county. And if I may, and this is a surprise, but since I have to go to the bathroom, one, could you carry on with it?
He's been this way the whole time. It was a tough topic for us, but there were some recommendations that we think could be made and implemented right now. And we recommend several things that we'd like to see take place in the January-February timeframe. One is we want a new flexible salary schedule. Right now we have grades and steps, 16 steps. So everything that we do is tied to a step. And we want to convert that to a quartile so that there's a lot of flexibility in how and when you move forward. We also want to extend probation from 3 to 6 months. We talked about that before. With the new salary schedule, we want to give directors the authority to hire anywhere in the first quartile and the county manager to approve hiring in the second and third quartile. We still think the fourth quartile hiring should go to the board. We want probationary employees to be able to earn but not take leave until the probationary period is over. And we also want substantial equivalency. Right now, we operate under 2 personnel systems, the state personnel system for the DFS and public health. And I have to say, we didn't totally have consensus on that vote in this group. Then the rest of the county employees are under county personnel policies. And we want to bring that all together under one set of policies. It would change the, if we had a disciplinary problem, it would change that appeal process or that review process. But we think those are things that can be done very rapidly and make things more flexible for all of us. We dealt a lot with, once we have a performance evaluation, vehicle policy, the process, and we've been through that. At least one full cycle, everybody in the county has evaluated or been evaluated. Whether or not we can tie performance pay to that. We feel that we can, but we feel it should not be done in fiscal year 98, just to give us good time to get through the learning to do evaluations. And we also have to worry about funding it. And that's why we have this deflated balloon here at the bottom. We have to figure out how to inflate that balloon. And we're proposing hoping that we continue as a team to come up with some of those answers and come back to the county manager on the 15th of April with some solid recommendations. There are some things that we think can fuel this money. You can't tell these are helium tanks. They've been everything from nails and needles and whatever. But we think that there's some
They haven't
possibilities.
changed.
They just have different names. With the golden parachute or early retirement incentive, we think there's an opportunity to let some people who might like to exit the government a little earlier go ahead, and then we could bring some lower salary in to fill those positions. We also think that we need to look at converting longevity to a salary instead of being an annual longevity plan. It's not consistent with performance pay. And we also want to evaluate not having health benefits during the probationary period. That's a very expensive benefit, and we want to continue to pursue that. So those are some of the things that we're looking at as ways to fund the pay for performance plan. And we'd be happy to answer more questions about the better.
Before any questions, I think. Before Vanna throws up any more signs. The other day, someone said to me, "Oh, yeah, you're in that group that hasn't done anything." I think it's safe to say that we have met a good number of times, and as I told you a couple of weeks ago, we really had a very difficult topic. However, I feel like this group jumped on as well as we could. And given the requirements of slave driver Deborah back there, and Jill to do all these things every week, sometimes the ability to use your time to solve the problem is superseded by the ability to do the class assignment, which wasn't bad, because I think we learned a great deal from it. However, we did get to the point where we said, in order to really tackle our problem and solve it, we need more time. And we think it is a solvable problem. The world hunger, pay issues, they're a wash, you know. But we do think that it is something we can get done. Question?
It would seem to me that you have almost an impossible task until people understand what the performance measures are and how that's going to the evaluation system is. Nobody will sign up for pay performance. Did that cause your problems not having clearly understanding among employees what performance measures are? And how you're going to evaluate it, and then to ask them to sign up the system based on those seems to me to have been a difficult thing to do.
Yes and no. Because early on, we wrestled with that very same thing. How can we design something based upon something we don't have? And so we took the posture that the Anita Institute would develop a real good measuring tool. And so we don't know what it looks like, but we know it's there, and it'll do what is required. Based upon that, now let's build our house, so to speak. So we haven't seen the foundation, but we're comfortable it's there.
I think it would be appropriate for Anita to explain a little bit what's going to happen on that performance evaluation at this point, since that seems to be a big thing with your group.
When I first came to work, I noticed that under a bullet under the functions of my office was a performance evaluation. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I did not know a lot about performance evaluations, but I did know that there was not a consistent manner in which they had been conducted in the county. I contacted the institutes to see if there would be someone from the Institute of Government who might have the expertise to work with me in my department in doing this. And we have met, Wanda, Bill, and myself have met with the Institutes of Government, and they also brought with them a person from MAPS, that's Management and Personnel Systems. In the meantime, I went to Mount Holly and watched MAPS in action, in which they were working with the city of Mount Holly. and their employees developing a performance appraisal. The way that the MAPS group does this is much like we're doing here. It's in teams. And we have determined that there are 13 different job classifications, and that there are 183 supervisors in Butler County. And the process will be that we will be tentatively meeting with all the managers on February the 22nd to try to come up with some core values and frameworks for our performance evaluation. We'll meet again in early March. Then we will be bringing task force together from each of those 13 job classifications. There might be representatives from that classification and supervisors. And they will meet and they will determine what meets expectations, what's above expectation, and what fails expectations. That performance instrument will then go out to everyone that will be evaluated on that performance evaluation feedback. And those ideas, if appropriate, will be incorporated into the instrument, and then it will go out in a pilot type situation, and then it will be implemented fully. So the process is going to take approximately 5 to 6 months to do. There's also the development component, and then there's also a very component, the training. And the training component will be approximately 15 hours of training for each of these 183 supervisors to know how to conduct the performance appraisal in a fair and equitable manner. The thing that I would hear in Mount Holly when I was an observer was that people were very anxious because it was at Mount Holly, it was a performance evaluation that was linked to pay. It was a linkage there. They were very anxious about that because being in a political situation, they couldn't understand, if at all, that this could be conducted in a fair and equitable and non-biased way. So they were having some things to work out there. I believe that initially ours will not be connected to pay. But in talking to the person from MAPS, they felt like that it would be very important that we bring up that issue, that it could eventually be, so that there would not be any surprises. That if this works and it works appropriately, then it may be considered an instrument in order to provide this pay for performance or merit pay type work. So the process is moving along.
Well, I think our group would challenge that last statement. We have gone all along thinking the performance evaluation would absolutely be tied. Okay. Otherwise, how do you determine who gets the money? One thing that we might say as a group is that we, in our plans in trying to encourage the county manager to leave us together as a group, we would anticipate doing many of the activities that we would have done maybe in this program had we had more time. The gathering of data and analyzing that data, doing histograms and those sorts of things have a very valuable place and will lead us in the right direction. But we did not find in this 13 weeks that we had the time or ability to do that. We really need some time to develop questionnaires properly, distribute them, get them back, analyze them. I'll give you, and then I'll close and leave it. Please folks step behind the speaker's. When we first got together, our group discussed merit pay, and we felt like, or at least I felt like somewhat, that I was being pushed in that direction. The county had just come out with a game plan to change or to give increases. Y'all have done a survey and determined that some sort of merit pay was what y'all wanted, and so we were being pushed that way. But very early in my reading from our earlier committees, I discovered that Earl Denning, for instance, hates the idea of merit pay. He thinks it's It's absolutely and totally wrong. And so we debated that a fair amount. So before we could even get out of the gate, we had some, what I think were some serious and fundamental things that had to be addressed. I think we got past that, but in getting past it, we may use a good amount of the time we may have used for something else. Sam is our true spokesman.
Anybody have any questions?
Why don't we, let's give another. Let's take a 10-minute break, everybody back here in quarter off so we can give a bunch of
John ought to be Mr. Harold. I hate it when that happens. I'll look at here, see who's right down through. We are, but the party's.
Yeah, I'll remember that.